Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Well, another day here at Giga-Texas. It's beautiful to fly here early on this Wednesday, but it is a little bit cold. I'll have to admit that, and a little bit windy, but not too bad. There's a few things that I want to talk about here in the intro before we get into the video that you might find interesting. First of all, looking at a few permits over at the end-of-line facility on the north end for that direct delivery center. There's a permit for a new shade structure, and that should be starting construction pretty soon. That will help with the customer experience with the direct delivery that goes on here now at the factory. So that's pretty cool to see that this is continuing to evolve. Also on the south end, there's another permit for more superchargers. I don't know if this is going to be addition or modification, but we do know that there is that workshop just to the west of this location on this west support facility that is building a lot of superchargers. So perhaps that might be related to that. Of course, over at the Cortex 2 chiller plant, there's a permit that talks about the temporary cooling units, and I believe that those are those 6 trailers that have the cooling units on it, and that most likely will help with the initial stand-up and operation of the facility so that they can get that going as soon as possible. So that is really great to see as well. Now, there's a couple of other developments that I want to just point out that you may or may not have heard about. First of all, we talked about the dry electrode process for both the battery cathode and anode, and with what you can see here with Tesla, that is a big deal because it helps cut cost, complexity, reduces the footprint of the factory as far as the equipment that is necessary to produce the batteries, and it also has the potential of helping with the margins of the vehicles, maybe with cost or maybe with energy density. Now, another development on that is Michael Guilfoy, who works here at Giga-Texas with the 4680 cell production, posted this picture of their group celebrating that dry electrode for the cathode and the anode process, which is a huge deal. And he also mentions that not only will the 4680s continue to be used in the Cybertruck, be featured in the Cybercab, and be incorporated into the Semi, but they're also restarting the process of using 4680s in some of the Model Ys, which is actually a pretty big deal as well. So 4680s are really coming into their own, and it's going to be affecting a lot of the product line for Tesla, and we'll see how that develops. The last thing that I want to point out is that we've been talking about all of those Model Y standards over on the east side that have been accumulating here at Giga-Texas. We've also seen a lot of those Model Y with that standard body being produced here. Today is another one of those days where most of the production is that. But the biggest news is that Tesla just announced that they're dropping the name Standard. It's just going to be called the Model Y, and they've added in the Model Y all-wheel drive, which is based on what was the Standard, that trimmed body line that has a different front end and the rear end, of course, different interior. But now you have the all-wheel drive version in addition to the rear-wheel drive, and the price is about $41,990 in the US. So it looks like they're trying to build out that Model Y line with a lot of different variants. So anyway, that helps talk a little about what we've been seeing here at Giga-Texas, and I hope that you like this review and update. So without further ado, let's get in the drone, fly around, see what Giga-Texas looks like on this beautiful but cold Wednesday.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, what a beautiful morning here at Giga-Texas. To start off with, we're going to be here on the southwest side looking over the West Warehouse on Wheels. And I'll kind of pivot the drone around so that we can start at this material staging yard where there is some activity. In fact, there's a couple deliveries of these wooden crates. You can see the telehandler taking it out of the truck right now. There's a yard truck nearby, or at least the trailer, and you can see where they're going to be bringing them out and storing here on the left-hand side of the screen next to a bunch of the other new crates that have just recently arrived. Of course, there's some other building materials, other production line equipment in this section as well, but also, as I pointed out in my previous video, everything to the west here is being cleaned up and cleared up, including changing the operation of this contractor parking lot. This is the second time in a row that I've seen it completely empty like this. And we're looking across to the landfill area where they store some dirt. You can get a good idea where we're located. The bottom here with that blue kind of trailer with those doorways, that's where they normally do the security when the contractors were getting onto the bus, but it looks like it's being decommissioned. So I'm not sure if that's related to what we're seeing here on the dirt section as well, because we've been seeing a lot of excavations and moving away some of the dirt from here. So maybe they're planning on some sort of construction in this area. This is definitely a new development I'm going to keep watching. I'll zoom in here, just show you what's going on with the supercharger kind of workshop and all the materials that they have around here for more of the superchargers, as we talked about in the intro, and we'll talk about here briefly over at the south end of the line, but there's a permit for more superchargers here, so maybe that is related. This is a great view of this material staging yard with all of the equipment and items that are getting ready to move into the battery cell production part of the factory. As we also mentioned in the intro, with that dry electrode for both the anode and the cathode, maybe because they have that kind of solved, they're ready to expand more of that production in the factory. Here's the gantry crane on the bottom left that's been used to move some really heavy items into stamping on that east side of the factory. Of course, here are more of the transformers. On my previous video, we saw a few more being delivered here. And so they're accumulating still rather than moving them off site. So I'll continue to watch that as time goes on. Now at this north side of the staging yard, the clearing continues to have work being done, and some of those stakes in the ground for some sort of construction. This is what it looks like right now. And that access roadway to that central road on the left-hand side of the screen looks like that is completed with filling in the dirt over the drainage pipe. But as I pull away, this gives you kind of an idea of the size and shape of this location. I'm not sure what's going to be done here other than the roadway that's going to extend on the right-hand side from where we see at this intersection and that median, but otherwise not really sure. Kind of an interesting grouping of vehicles here, kind of doing this U-turn and heading off. I just thought it was interesting, and I wasn't sure what it was for sure, so I thought I would just capture that momentarily. Great view across the outbound lot. You can see vehicles accumulating on that top side, a bunch more on the east side of the end of line. And as I put this permit up here, just a reminder, a shade structure is permitted to be placed on this north end of the direct delivery, right in the area where that Tesla sign is located on the side of the building. Now, as we fly along the east side, looking at the lanes for all the vehicles as they drive over autonomously, I'm going to cross back over the end of the line, show you these vehicles here. These are all Model Y, probably the new all-wheel drive, but it's hard to tell for sure with just the visuals. It could be just the standard Model Y as well. But as we discussed in the intro, they've gotten rid of the word standard, and they've kind of reworked that model line with different versions of them at different price levels. Speaking of which, all the ones in this location are either the Model Y rear-wheel drive or the Model Y all-wheel drives, and that seems to be what is being produced here today, and that continues that trend of having different days for different models. I also mentioned that superchargers again. This is that south end where the existing superchargers are located. I don't know if this is going to be upgrading the existing ones or adding on, but that is a part of the site that I will continue to watch, and we'll see how it develops. I'll kind of fly along this side of the highway, show you this view of the factory, and we'll position up to the north and get ready to resume on the other side up near Battery Cell. Interestingly enough, with that dry electrode for the cathode and the anode, I noticed that for the first time today, that blue bin has got some of the cans for the 4680s getting ready for recycling, and maybe that's a good indication. Also, with all of the other items that we've heard about, the posts that we've seen from Tesla and Tesla employees, and just maybe more of the development of the 4680s. So I think that's a good sign. I'll keep a watch on that. Now there are some deliveries here to the platform and that crane. This Conestoga truck, or the kind of the accordion truck, is showing you this equipment that's being delivered, and wrapped in plastic with those bright red numbers on it. It's kind of hard to tell, but it looks like it may be battery cell production equipment, or maybe racking systems that is related to that. More of the work on this berm here, just to the north of the flagpoles, trench box, and this is still most likely related to connecting in some of the plumbing that has been connected to the factory on this side and all along that berm. At the moment that I flew the drone here for this video, there was not a Model Y coming out, but earlier when I was taking photos, several Model Y either standards or the rear-wheel drive or the all-wheel drives were coming out of the factory. So I'm going to bring the drone up a little bit higher. We'll fly over the roof looking to the south, and we're repositioned down to the section of the site by the berm where there is some progress being done with one of the caissons and excavations. On the right of the screen, the trench boxes have been removed and are being stored temporarily. Looks like they're doing grade work here to the north and filling in this large excavation. All of the spreader bars and most of the sheet piles have been removed, and we can just see those beams stuck down into the ground. But with the work and the infill being done, I'm thinking that probably in the next day or so, all of this section may be filled in, and that indicates that that work is nearing completion. Now, of course, that connects under this intersection over to this caisson on the left, where you see part of it broken away, that circle, and the rest of the ground is being filled back in. So as I maneuver around here, it gives you an idea of how this is all coming together, the work on the south side of River Road, but also that this is coming close to being concluded. So we'll continue to fly here towards the southeast side of the main factory, looking across the roof and that extension. Also, the cooling plant has got just a little bit of vapors, nothing as dramatic as my previous video, but it is still in operation. Of course, the River Road extension, some of the trench work that is being done to install the green pipes that we see stored or stockpiled on the left of the center of the screen, and there's some other steel corrugated pipes being stored on top. You can see what that trench work looks like. We'll come back here for a different perspective of it momentarily, but I wanted to show you what this earthwork is looking like as we continue off to the east, this large clearing, and the ground at the bottom where that center dump truck is coming along is most likely the extension of River Road through this section. As I mentioned, here's a better view of the trench work. You can see a very large round kind of connector at the bottom left of the screen, and the stored pipes as we just flew over near that pond. Speaking of the pond, I'll zoom back in. This is more of the materials that are being staged here, although there is less of it as it's being installed. You see the bright green pipes at the bottom with those bands on it. Those are usually pulled through tunnel segments, and then the rest of the equipment that's being stored here. By these wooden crates on the left-hand side of the screen is where that gantry crane, the yellow one that we saw on the other side of the highway, is sometimes used. Of course, we see other equipment and deliveries being done here. Much of it is that white and red items that is usually associated with production. So I kind of pan the drone through this section, the two tanks and that temporary platform. Inside these walls is where the Cybercab production line is on the second and third floors. Of course, we have the cooling trailers on the left next to this large temporary platform, and then more of the receiving doors here along this part of the building. As we get to the secondary main entrance and some of the items that are stored here, I'm going to zoom back out and kind of pan the drone to the east, show you that this lot with all the Model Ys, which I thought were standards, are still being stored here. It's very likely that these were being pre-produced with the all-wheel drive model, or maybe, as we talked about with the 4680s being put into the Model Ys, maybe that's what that is. So there's a couple of possibilities of what those vehicles in that temporary parking lot are for. Showing you the work here on the drainage is still coming along next to this large material staging yard and all the materials that are being stored here. We see the riprap around the berm at the bottom, that drainage ditch, that's kind of the broken up rock that helps with the water flow and to help with some of the erosion control as well. So we fly over the wind tunnel and the helicopter pad. Another close look at all of those vehicles being stored here on the east side and next to all of the superchargers that have all the solar panels as the canopies. I'll zoom back in here at the secondary main entrance just to continue on our tour on the east side of the factory. As I pan along the receiving doors, you can also tell that equipment with the crates still being stored next to this wall. And there is a lot of the racks filled with Model Y rear underbodies. That's the castings for the rear. I've had some people talk about maybe with the 4680s going into the Model Ys, it's going to bring the structural pack and the front casting for the Model Y back. I don't think so. Tesla has said that they're making non-structural packs with the 4680s, so I think that it's just going to be a pack installed in the existing method of manufacturing the Model Ys. That's also consistent across all of their factories and different supply chains to make it easier. So I think it's that is what they're going to do, but it is still great news that they're able to kind of make a lot more of the the 4680s, put them in the Model Ys, and also realize those costs, reduce complexity, reduce factory footprint, and maybe even better margins on the vehicles. So a lot of progress here on this side. Many of the castings, the bottom of the screen is for Cybertruck, and there are a lot of those as well. So seems like full speed ahead on continuing to produce the Cybertruck here as well. Over the paint stands here, we see some of the other rack mounts and stands on the left-hand side of the screen. And as we get here towards this two set of loading platforms, the crane is active today. It's actually removing equipment from the third floor, and we'll follow this in, zoom in so you get a good shot of what this looks like. They're placing it onto the truck. Presumably, these are no longer needed items. And maybe this is also related to that dry electrode and starting to ramp up more of the production of the 4680s. But this is what this equipment looks like, painted red, looks like rollers on the top. It may have been associated with the calendaring of the dry electrode. Hard to say for sure, but anyway, it's good to see progress with the 4680s. And I know the team has been working extremely hard over the last year to achieve those milestones. So we'll keep watching what they do and how things will change and develop over this year. Flying up over the power lines, I'll bring the drone back down to this staging yard. The main thing I want to show you is all of these kind of gray items. These are more of the enclosures for the fan units for the chiller plant for Cortex 2. Also, we see some of the motor assemblies and some more crates, which are probably related to the fans, maybe the fans themselves for assembly. So we fly over the battery electric storage system, or Megapacks, for the data center at the south end of the factory. I'll look across this construction site towards Cortex 2, where we see that very large Saren's crane getting ready to move even more Megapacks onto that installation. And we'll see that closer here momentarily. Crews are very busy with pulling the cables through the conduits through this section today. See more of them laid out on the bottom left, and that work is still underway. This is going to connect the switch yard and all of this extension to Cortex 2. The connecting tunnel between the two underground vaults still shows those yellow cable holders. Most of the cables are installed on the south side of the tunnel. As I zoom in, this shows you the work on the cable trays next to the control room, kind of duplicating what you see on the left-hand side of the screen with the original installation. But that work is definitely underway with more steel assembly, more assembly of the second transformer, and work here with concrete and rebar and forms for the blast wall between these two of the transformers. Looks like more of the work near the third slab is underway, plus some of the excavation work for that blast wall is underway. So that is definitely moving along very quickly. Now, as I zoom back out, we're going to proceed to the north. Did notice some activity here in the middle part of the section. We'll see this large excavation. Also, some more of the footers or footings have been created. You can see the forms and the rebar, the connectors, the mounts sticking up out of that. This is all related to the rebar cages and some of the pile drilling equipment that we see coming into view at the bottom of the screen. Looks like they're just preparing for that third bay of that extension of the electrical switch yard, which means that we will probably see that third transformer arriving soon and then connecting everything together. So getting all of 6 of the bays for this combined electrical switch yard seems to be a major priority. That makes sense because of what we're seeing here at Cortex 2 with all of the work that is underway today. And there is a lot. So I'm going to maneuver here on the northeast side, looking back to the southwest, and we'll start with some of the trench work that is underway. At the bottom of the screen here, we see some of the trench boxes and the excavation work that is kind of heading from the lift station below the drone over towards the factory. More of the pipe segments stored here, although a lot less, as that installation work has made a lot of progress. As we get over towards the part 2 of the chiller plant, decided I'm going to come back and look at that in a moment. I first wanted to show you this dirt section that has been spread out. They put geotextile membranes underneath the dirt. That's that black matting that you can see next to these openings. Plus, with the zoom in, you get a good view of the load levelers for the 2 receiving doors on the left and the other 2 larger doors with the kind of the plastic covered scaffolding on the inside. As we continue to move towards the north, we see 2 more concrete vaults have been installed. The circular depressions on the ground are where there's more piles, and you can tell it's kind of a roughly a square section, so I expect to see some sort of construction soon. Ice boxes have been delivered next to another delivery with electronic cabinets, and more equipment is being moved from the truck in the center over into the open door. And that work is definitely continuing as they're installing equipment inside, as well as doing all of this work on the outside. Paving of the new West Road is well underway today. And as I maneuver around the Cortex 2, looking back towards the south, it really highlights the work that's being done and how this is coming together. Next to the building is continuing to have the screw-type piers installed. I expect that to continue on this newly graded section that we're flying over. And of course, more of the concrete vaults with the cables and the conduit extending over towards the switch yard. The screw-type piers at the bottom of the screen work on the new road and the paving that is underway. As we go over the workshops and the tents, we can see that Megapacks are definitely arriving and accumulating at a very fast rate here at the site. In fact, we can see 3 large main storage areas. The one at the bottom is using the crane to lift them off of the delivery trucks, and 2 more trucks are arriving right now at this time of flying. And I noticed even more coming down Tesla Road as I was flying in other sections. So that work and the deliveries are really taking place at a fast rate. As I maneuver around here, you can see more of the assembly of the platforms, the transformers, electrical equipment next to the lower screw type piers where some of the beams have arrived and are being placed by the crane, and that will help give them the chance to extend more of the Megapack installation. Here's a great view of that installation with the kind of the steel assemblies or structures that connect across the Megapacks and in between each group of 8. And some of the work at the bottom of the screen with some plastic and cabling as they do more of the wiring. Also a good view of what's going on with the wiring on the roof as we flew by. I'll keep maneuvering over here on the west side just to show you again how the activity is continuing with Megapacks construction, screw type piers being stored ready for installation, deliveries, and just the overall amount of work that is being done here on the west side. The south side is also quite busy. Next to where some of the Megapacks are stored, we can see excavation work here next to the roadway and some of the power lines. This large kind of excavation in the middle of the section, and also some of the paving work that is being done here on the south side as well. Some deliveries of some pipes at that yard truck at the bottom of the screen, more excavation, some of the forms that are used for making the perimeter walls of the chiller plant here at the south side, and of course more of the paving that is working its way around the south and east sides of the factory. Now these 6 cooling units that you see here, that's related to that permit that I showed you for the temporary coolers. Also, we can get a good sense of the enclosure and the 4 fans that are installed right now. We also have the slabs on the bottom left for more fans. I think that will eventually be added in, but my guess is right now they are trying to get the minimum essential capabilities installed for power and for cooling, and also the electrical equipment on the inside to get the initial part of the data center operational, and then they will expand kind of with an agile project management philosophy that we've seen all over Giga-Texas to expand that capability over time, so they're not limited by just waiting for all of the construction to be completed. So that is pretty neat to see. Now on the ground we see some pipes, some other equipment, some preparation for more asphalt around this small platform with transformers, and where that blue truck is sitting on the asphalt, that is new. That's been added since my previous video. So I'll bring the drone down lower so you can get a good sense of what that looks like. And we'll approach into part 2 of the chiller plant, where we see green pipe being installed around the perimeter in the trenches, some concrete drainage pipe on the left next to the main factory or the building. We see the concrete's being poured around the base of the perimeter walls on the east, south, and west sides. Of course, those 4 bunkers where we'll see pipes connecting through, and eventually they will work on the north wall. But looking back towards part 1 with the fans and this part 2, it gives us an idea of how the whole chiller system is coming together. So I'm going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude. We'll maneuver around to proceed up to the northeast, where we'll take a look at the Lippmann machinery that is being set up for breaking up all of the concrete you see in the right-hand side of the screen. Here's a nice close-in view of all the assembly work with the conveyor systems, the crushers, and a little bit more of the equipment. They're still not in operation yet, but it looks like they are getting close. As you can tell with all of the concrete on the top part of the screen, that will all be broken up, pulverized, and made into basically a gravel or an aggregate, and then we'll see what they're going to do with that. But here's a really close-in good view of this operation and how the equipment is being put together. As we fly back over all of this broken up and scrap concrete. We'll take a look at the transformers that are being stored here. These are going to be installed along the west side of the Cortex 2 once the platforms are all in place. Now, as we go over the crash testing facility, I noticed that they are maneuvering or taking away some of the Cybercabs that are underneath covers here. A few of them used to be by the black fence, and now they've been moved away. So maybe they're starting recycling. It's hard to say for sure. But what is for sure is that the work on this slab at the south end is making a lot of progress now. All of the trenching, pipe installation, utilities are all completed. They're getting the forms back up. They have the yellow moisture barrier, and they're starting to put in the rebar. So at this pace, probably by my next video, we'll see concrete poured on this slab. And hopefully we'll get a good sense of what this is meant for once we see some vertical construction. But as I pull away, it's a great view of that complex of structures that we were just viewing with the cathode plant in front of us, the die shop and Cortex 2. Of course, this large pile of dirt has been growing over the last several weeks, and still not sure what that's meant for. One of the things that is pretty clear is that this old maintenance shop for the concrete trucks looks like they are moving all of the containers away. That might indicate that the equipment inside the structure has all been removed, packed up, and is being ready to be transported away. Once this is all done, then the structure at the bottom of the screen and the main structure should be demolished, the concrete removed, and then this will be prepared for future construction. Speaking of which, as I bring the drone up to a higher altitude, on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see some center trucks bringing in dirt for another section being cleared. All of this section is being prepared for future construction. So that'll be it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it, and hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care.